We continue our debate right now between Melanie Morgan and Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. Robert, I have to ask you about this report that's coming out from the CIA. We got a word on it. They're apparently going to put out all their family jewels, as they call them, all the mischief the CIA's been up with all the years. In 1975, the Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger, told President Ford, quote, Helms, that's Helms, the head of CIA, said, all these stories are just the tip of the iceberg. If they come out, blood will flow. For example, Robert Kennedy personally managed the operation on the assassination of Castro. Do you have any thoughts on that? It's apparently all going to come out next week.
That is completely inconsistent with everything that has been found. You know, the Church Committee investigated this for almost a year and found out that my father not only had nothing to do with those assassination attempts, but was furious and rebuked the CIA when he found out about it. It was inconsistent with everything else my father did while he was in office and everything that his aides said. Richard Helms, this was a rogue operator who, and this is what the Church Committee found out, who had run those operations by himself. Now, you know, the quote that you have is a quote that is very self-serving, a quote by Richard Helms, as well as a quote by Henry Kissinger.
Yeah.
Richard Helms had a very, very antagonistic relationship with my father. He despised my father. My father did not trust him, and he was a very secretive and a very deceptive man. And it doesn't surprise me that he would say something like this, or that Kissinger would say something like this, but it's completely inconsistent with the facts as they've been laid out by the Intelligence Committee and by the aides who watched my father function during that time. And it's inconsistent with everything he did during, for example, the Cuban Missile Crisis. His concern, his deep concern that we should be a moral nation, that we shouldn't do anything that would compromise our moral authority in the eyes of the world.
So he wasn't involved with either Mongoose or Amlash, either of those operations?
He found out about them afterwards, and the way he found out, you know, his aides were present, like John Siegenthaler and Dick Goodwin at the time, when he walked out of a meeting with two CIA agents who disclosed that they had tried to kill Castro using a cigar with a bomb in it. And he was absolutely furious and regarded them as kind of crackpots. And he was very, very angry that they had used the mob, which of course he had a history of antagonism with, in order to further their operations. He was furious at Helms, and it doesn't surprise me that after he died, Helms would then try to connect him to muddy the water. But the evidence is this, that Helms really took over the CIA because he was instrumental in helping John McComb, who was the CIA director, in covering up the suicide death of his wife. And after that, McComb let him alone, and Helms went off as a rogue agent with Operation Mongoose and these other operations designed to murder Fidel Castro, that when my father found out about it, that he didn't share the information, my father found out about it through other agents and went after Helms. And it doesn't surprise me that after my father died, that Helms or Kissinger would fabricate this kind of thing. But, you know, it's inconsistent with everything the Intelligence Committee found, who investigated it thoroughly.